Tengámonos, tenga. You guys remember that from When We Were Kings? The African tribes people singing videos of the Hadadzi on YouTube. They got this whole channel, and I'm gonna speak in clicks and shit. And all they do is hunt all day long. That's all they fucking do is hunt. And they kill things, and then they eat fucking animals all cooked up and gross. It's disgusting. It's crazy. It's crazy. I can't imagine that life. But then again, that life is so much simpler, and I'm sure it's better in some ways, but wow, is it crazy. Anyway, Jesse Hall is a punk bitch ass punk. I hate that dude. Oh shit, I forgot about that. Got the plumber coming today. So yeah, I think Jesse Hall is a fucking piece of shit, I gotta say. Good morning. So there's this other guy, Steve Berivian. I don't know his name. He's asked me to be on his show a couple times, and I just haven't yet. I should, but I haven't yet. And actually, I was leery of the guy for a little bit, but the fake truther thing is a real problem. And Jesse Hall is a prominent figure in the fake truther community. And I like, I have a long history with that dude. And it's, that history includes multiple times where, he can't handle the conversation or the topic or whatever, so he acts like a bitch and bails. I get blocked or whatever. And I've never ever once asked to be a part of Jesse's thing. He's always asked me. But, for those that don't get it, like, there is a, he's there to, keep tabs. He's part of keeping tabs on people. He's there to push fake narratives. And he's allowed a prominent position. He's allowed to have lots of views. He's allowed to have a successful podcast, the Missing Link podcast. And the thing about Jesse more than anything is like, he's good at his job. He's good at being the radio host, the interviewer who doesn't make it all about themselves. And, he does a pretty good job at that part. So the last time I was on his show, let's see, I wonder, fuck. Damn it. I'm trying to figure out when I was on his show last. It was, I assume it was after October 2023 or October 7th, 2023. I'm pretty sure it was. But Jesse said to me one day after I did his show. So I did his show, and the thing about Jesse is Jesse won't acknowledge things that he doesn't like. And he doesn't like the idea that I'm better at this than he is. And he doesn't like like, there are surface level things, and then there are deeper things that you have to look at, and that includes everything. That's whatever stories you're looking at, but it's also, you know, how we interact. There's the way we treat each other on the surface, and then there's the deeper level stuff. And the deeper level stuff is the stuff that Jesse refuses to acknowledge. So there's been multiple stories where, like, I did his Truth or Telethon. He did a 24-hour Truth or Telethon where he had multiple truthers come through, and each person got either 15 minutes or a half hour, I think it was. And they ran, you know, they gave everybody the platform 24 hours straight. It was never really thought it was a big deal. And so the first one they did, whatever. The second one I was a part of. And when I was given the option, you know, when do you want to, you know, what do you want? You get to pick your time slot. It was Friday night at 8 p.m. I picked the 8 p.m. time slot because I figured that's, you know, that's TGIF. That's the time slot you want, is the 8 p.m. one. And so I had broadcast it that I was going to do the Truth or Telethon, blah, blah, blah. Jesse told me that I needed to call the number like 5 minutes early, and, you know, I get put in the queue and then whatever. So I call the number, and the way they had it set up, like you would do a FaceTime. It was like FaceTime. And Jesse would be on one side, you'd be doing your thing. And, you know, Jesse was the host. Well, I got there 5 minutes early, and the guy that was the truther that was talking at the time was talking about how, you know, we need to take the churches underground because this was back in COVID times and shit. But, you know, they're not letting us, they're like the whole bullshit idea that religion is, that Christianity is somehow in danger. Like, it's such stupid nonsense. I'm so sick of people, Christians, pretending like their thing is in danger because their total dominance isn't allowed anymore. Like, they're not allowed to just be racist, sexist assholes anymore. So that means, you know, protect our religious freedoms. Anytime you see somebody with a sign in their yard that says protect our religious freedoms, it's a fucking dumb Christian. But this guy is just, you know, talking his nonsense. And you can see it if you pay attention. You can see that right at 8 o'clock, Jesse, like, double takes. What the hell? And he looks at his computer screen, and you see him, like, mess with something. And you know, again, he's a professional, so he just keeps going with it. But he, look at this dumbass who thinks that's funny. Cybertruck, says the same dumb shit over and over again. But he, you could see that something happened. Something, like, I don't know. So I go live, I do my thing, blah, 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 blah. The next day, Jesse says, you know, he reaches out and he's like, he says something about, like, the feed was, as soon as the 8 o'clock minute passed and I was supposed to go live, actually Jesse let the other guy go for like 2-3 minutes longer than he should have. I didn't get that, of course. I didn't get that opportunity. But from Turkey, what's up, Turkey? Nice to see you. But he said that for some strange reason, the Facebook feed went down at 8 o'clock. And then fixed itself at exactly 8:30. Thought I was going to be able to go up front today. I guess I was wrong. But he basically said that, in the 48 hours that they did their Truther Telethon, there was only one time when the feed messed up. And again, it was Facebook feed just went completely haywire. Unexplainable shit. And it was exact. It was from the time I was supposed to go live until my turn was over. What are the chances? There are no chances. That's not a thing. That's not that's not how it works. So when I pointed it out to Jesse, I must be doing something right if I'm the only one that was such a threat that they shut your feed down. Trump wants to be a dictator. Trump is an actor. Trump just does what he's told. Trump is the idea he wants to be a dictator, whatever. The system wants him to be a dictator. I mean, I'm not really sure how that whole thing is going to play out. It's very distracting, as it's supposed to be. So,
brilliantly written about Trump just now.
So, he gets mad. He's, man, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. So, like, whatever. So, a couple of years. Oh, thank you for sending that. Let's see if I can find it. Gaimo's World. After the sun goes down, we start checking the lines for activity. On the third one, trying to find the picture. Maybe the picture will say, hang on a second, let me see if I can do it. I'm trying to be exact, right? I'm trying to provide evidence for what I'm saying. So, oh yeah, February 23rd. I assume it was 2024. Must have been 2024. But he comes onto my live feed at some point, January, something like that. he stumbles back across my page. And again, he's like, oh, hey, you want to do the live feed? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. I'm always going to take that opportunity. Right? So I go in his live feed. We have, what I consider to be a great show. Like, it was very good. And if you look at the numbers game, right? You look at how many views the show normally gets, as opposed to how many, and most of the people he brings on are people that are like established truthers in some way. They're not just some guy, some guy who's censored to bejesus and back. But he brings me on. We have this feed, blah, blah, blah. And everything's good. Well, time goes, and I'm very much focused on the Jays as always. What's up, Ben? And I at some point, like later on, somewhere in March, I get this message from Jesse asking me, why do I insist on talking about religion? No, actually, while I was doing his feed, I was talking about the Jays. And he said, oh, well, there's this great video that you should watch. It explains everything. And I'm like, great, I'll check it out. I trust you. You have a position of somebody that I trust. Okay, I'll check out this thing. So I end up going to look, and what it is it's a 2-part video that works out to be around 3 hours. But it's a video of a guy doing basically what I'm doing, but he's sitting in front of a computer. He's telling you the J history, but he's like Jesse's fake bitch ass namaste, that kind of guy, you know. I hate those guys. Haven't watched The Missing Link enough time to form opinions. Well, I'm giving you the opinion. How's that? He's fake. He's just a fake. He's a fake piece of shit. He's a fake piece of shit. You know, years beforehand, the first time Jesse and I stopped talking, or Jesse stopped talking to me, was because he claimed that he had gotten stabbed. And when he got stabbed a bunch of times, and he barely survived. And he said that you know, that he experienced the tunnel. You go down the tunnel, you're like he said he experienced that. And I was like, yeah, well, you know, of course you do. You're from Western society, you're Canadian, but the idea of when you die, you go down that tunnel and your loved ones and all, that's a motif that's been put on us. We believe that because they've told us to believe that, and everybody that's in the Western society knows that that narrative.
Don't do it.
Well, Jesse was like, "Oh no, I've never heard that before. I'd never heard the tunnel of light thing until after I experienced that." And I was like, "Are you out of your fucking mind? Like, of course you've heard that before. That's why you saw that. Our brains do funny things when we're dying. And they do what it takes to comfort us. So if your idea of comfort is that you go down the fucking tunnel, you know, and that's what your brain's gonna do." So he got mad at me because I didn't believe him that he had never heard of the standard death experience. So time passed. He has me watch this video. So I honor my word. Okay, I'll check it out. So I'm watching and it's a long haired, white haired, and he's, you know, you don't realize how wonderful you are and blah blah. Like he if the video was more focused, it could have been a fucking 45-minute video. But it's 3 hours because he just keeps stopping and talking about, you know, and he clearly is sort of a Jesus believer too, and it's just a weird thing. Well, at first, I watched about 10 minutes of it, and I was like, I can't fucking watch this. This is bullshit. This is stupid. This guy is, you know, I have some issues with what he's saying. So I reached out to Jesse, and I'm like, hey, dude, I'd like to talk to you about these things, you know. And I went live and talking about, I'm like, you know, trying to get him to come on the live feed and talk about, like, I got questions, you know. He just avoids it like the plague. And then he sends me some DMs saying, you know, or maybe even came on the feed and he was like, well, watch the whole thing. That was his whole thing, is that I should watch the whole thing. He's not going to answer any of the questions I have. He's not going to put my mind at ease. He doesn't want me he doesn't want to address the things that I have, the issues that I may have that may be holding me back, help me understand so that I can watch the whole thing. So I want to watch the whole thing. He just says, well, I'm not going to talk to you about it until you watch the whole thing. So, and the thing is, he knows the power he has. He knows he has a platform that people want to be on, so he can be whatever he wants. And you're going to want to be a part of his platform. You know, he's a standard, like, you know, takes his ball and goes home when he doesn't get his way kind of kid. And of course, nobody ever wants to talk about where he's clearly wealthy. Like, he clearly has money from someplace, but we don't talk about that. So I end up watching another 45 minutes or so of the movie, of the presentation, not even a movie. And after about 45 minutes, I'm just like, I'm done with this. This is stupid. This guy is just telling us a narrative that we're not going to bother to question. And you know, clearly there's no Tartaria input on this. And, you know, you're just telling us the narrative they want us to know. And then throwing in a whole bunch of namaste bullshit. So I reached back out, and I'm more like I'm going live. I'm trying to talk about it. This is the medium where Jesse and I, met, and we're only, connected because he saw my live feeds and decided he wanted to talk to me. Right? That it wasn't like I chased him down. I looked for him. So I do the live, and I'm trying to talk about it. And he refuses. He refuses. And this is the same live that he'd been on many times before, or been in the comments many times before. He's watched many times before. So why it would be so difficult for him to watch, especially when it's about him and what he told me to do, it says a lot to me. So I get this message from him, this DM from him, and it says, he says, why do you insist on talking about religion so much when you know it's going to make people mad? And I'm like, that's the exact reason why, because I know it's going to make people mad. I want to talk about these things, not these things that are comfortable and easy. And I was like, besides, that video you had me watch, there's a lot of issues I take with it. It seems like that's a lot more, programming bullshit. And of course, and I say to him, look, why don't we do this? Why don't you have me back on the show? And if I'm wrong about this stuff, instead of being the good host, why don't we have a discussion about it? We'll have a debate about it. I'm inviting you to make me look stupid. Bring me on your show, and you debunk you don't play the good host role. You come at me and let me know what I'm getting wrong, and why I shouldn't talk about religion, and why I shouldn't focus on the J so much. And he blocked me. He blocked me. He took down my video. Look. He took down my interview number 717. If you go look, the post he had today, we are interviewing a very outspoken poet, musician, truther, Guy Williams, live at noon Eastern on the missing link. Here are the Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter links people can watch to watch the interview live and share on your network. The other thing is, this is the thing he didn't want to talk about. I said, how many times because during my live, I have these trolls come through. And Jesse, you could see Jesse's little smile. And he says, hey, this guy, like he of all the things that the people said that he could have read to me, he's like, hey, this guy said that you 6 years ago, you blocked him for blah, blah, blah. And I was like, if I blocked this motherfucker 6 years ago, why is he here? How many times do the trolls follow the person onto your platform, Jesse? And of course, he wouldn't acknowledge that. He didn't even want to entertain a different perspective. He's an asshole. He's an entitled asshole. Jesse Hell. He didn't want, he's this arrogant, that insecure arrogance coming through yet again. He didn't want to be wrong. He wasn't willing to be wrong. So he you would think he would take the opportunity. It would have, at the very least, been a good show.
I think he blocked me.
Of course he did. He went out of his way to block somebody that wanted to talk to him, that questioned. It's not like we were harassing him or, He blocked my wife. He went that far that he blocked my wife.
I think he died.
No, he didn't. He was just on fucking...
Jesse died March 14th.
No, he didn't. What?
degrees in the daytime, which is why that sunshine is so appealing. A bite from this snake would be rare, but still dangerous.
I mean, I'm his laws fuck him. Yeah, no doubt. But it's important that people understand that the system is going to have fake truthers out there. This is how they corral us. This is how they keep in front of, they like I was telling you guys the other day, if the truth is the rain, well, then Christianity is the biggest umbrella here in the United States. But it's not a big enough umbrella to cover everybody. So if you're outside the coverage of that umbrella, you're going to get the truth rain. Unless they throw up other umbrellas right underneath the diameter, the perimeter of the umbrella, there's a bunch of other umbrellas. And those other umbrellas are going to be, the Illuminati and the New World Orders and all that shit. They know that lots of us aren't going to fucking fall for the truth or for the Christianity bullshit. There are tons of us that so what do? Do you just let the people that don't fall for Christianity have free reign? Or do you try to control them? And you can see it in so many truthers who will talk about not believing in God, but they do believe in a higher power. If you believe in a higher power, an energy that knows everything and connects us all, well, that's God. Yeah, same thing. But you have guys like Jesse who have this position, this people think that he's telling the truth. People give him, he has that standing in the community that he's an upstanding person, he's a good guy, he's a real truther, he's this, that, and the other. And he's nothing but bullshit. It's important that we call out the people trying to corral people in different directions. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a pretty simple question. Like, why is Jesse not given the Guy Williams treatment? If not only this guy is this truther, but he's also providing a network for other truthers to be heard. He's allowed to have thousands and thousands of views. Why would they let this man do what he does and they fuck with me like they do? Why doesn't he get what I get? And it's important. Like, one of the things that one of the benefits to watching my feed is that you see what the system is truly capable of. I mean, we can say they'll do this or they'll do that, but it's important. That's like why I don't, block the trolls on here. I want you guys to see what comes my way. I want you guys to see, like, I'm not scared of anybody's anything. If you can prove me wrong, cool. I learned something. I move forward. But they're going to do everything they can to control the narrative. And Jesse does a great job of steering people in that direction. Like, he's a truther. He has the respect of a truther. Most of us are just followers anyway. And that's not a bad thing. It's just what are you following? That's the problem a lot of the time. Do you want to take this for a minute while I go get the basement ready? Can you talk for a minute?
Hello. I'm trying to find out if there was truth to that. There were quite a few people that said that Jesse passed. And I don't know if it's true or not. So I'm trying to figure it out. Because, you never know what to believe on the interweb. the interweb. So somebody said he passed March 14th. I'm checking with another truther that is friends with both of us, Jesse and myself. It appears either Jesse's profile is gone or he blocked me for I don't know why. He and I never had words. And most people know not to hold what my husband says against me, and vice versa, because we are a united front on most issues, but don't agree on everything. So, and I'm sorry, but that's healthy. Helps keep you on your toes and keeps you real. And here's March 15th. Usually this guy will post what's going on. Here's March 14th. I don't see anything. This guy posts a lot of stuff, so I'm still on March 14th scrolling. Good gravy. All right, here's March 13th. I don't see anything, but that doesn't mean. Let's try the news. I think he was still in the United States last time I talked to him.
Yes, they are. They're a member of the cobra family. They're little cobras. They have front fixed fangs, but they don't have a hood. They don't have a hood, no. It's very hard to get bitten by this snake unless you pick it up or you step on it barefoot.
Oh. It appears.
Snakes are not these aggressive killers that are out to hurt you. They're not. They're like any animal.
I don't see anything. But then again,
As Jack preps to extract venom from these snakes, it's important to remember
I see him on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I can't see him on Facebook. Again, I don't know if I got blocked or he deleted his shit. And all the other stuff seems to be old. We have a plumber coming. A plumber. He will be here shortly. Those of you that have basements that flood on a decently regular basis, well, thank you. It is his loss. In the event that he's still with us. I don't know. I don't know. Let's go to news and see if anything comes up.
Thank you.
I don't know if, no, I was talking.
Look like it. Anyway. You know, I just think it's all part of it. Like it's we have to acknowledge every part of it. And one of the You know, like we all know that there's controlled opposition out there, right? Yet we argue or we deny it every time it's pointed out. Or we, you know, especially when it's something that we like. We hate to be the same scrutinizing, you know, intelligent people when it comes to our own thing. And with Jesse is a God believing, you know, I mean, I'd love to know what his perspective is now. After the year plus, almost 2 years of genocide, well, year and a half of genocide that's taken place. After the, you know, re-election, I told you guys Trump was going to get re-elected. I told you guys that over and over again. I said this shit. I said this shit since 2020. You know, but guys like Jesse, he denies it. He's and you see a lot of these guys. You see a guy like Ian Carroll, right? Have you guys seen this guy? How you haven't is like we don't talk about how guys like Ian Carroll just sort of appear out of nowhere and then get to be on the Rogan show and all this other shit. And Ian is real big on telling you it's not the Jays, it's the Zionists. And I just, anybody that tries to tell you it's not the Jays, it's the Zionists, you have to question them. You have to question their motivation, their you know, why are you so determined to defend this horrible cult? And so like and I really do need to do Steve's show because, you know, he's this guy that thinks, you know, he sees all this stuff, but he's a great example of how dangerous things can be. Because just like, and funny thing is, right after this happened, not right after this happened, right when I started going live more frequently on YouTube, there was this broad here that used to come here. Her name was, I think, Marissa or something like that. And she had, I guess, been a long time listener, a long time follower. But her specialty, her area of expertise was that, you know, all the men in Hollywood are really women and all the women are men. The transgender agenda, the gay agenda. You know, she said she taught classes. She taught classes to teach people how they can identify these used to be men or whatever, you know, Megan Fox is really a man kind of bullshit. And all you got to do is look at their Adam's apple. You know, women don't have Adam's apples. She does. And I've seen her give birth. So you can't tell me that
I have a uterus.
Well, had a uterus, right? You can't tell me that all women don't have Adam's apples. She does. Just is what it is. It's not the only woman I've ever seen that had an Adam's apple that I knew was a woman. But when I called her out on this and I was like, what's your evidence for this? Why do you, like, it's like I give you the opportunity to spread your bigotry, whatever it may be. I give you that chance. Here, tell me why you think the way you do. And this Marissa chick was bragging that she was going to be doing Jesse's show within the next couple days. She was like, yeah, I'm going to be doing the missing link. And I was like, yeah, well, ask him about this shit. I found your interview with Jesse Hall. It's on the site Vigilante TV entitled Interview 717 with Guy Williams. We'll listen to it at some point. You've listened to it already. But, I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to. But most importantly, go ask Jesse why he blocked me. And actually, it is good. It is good to see the troll infestation. How the trolls followed me to Jesse's page. There are times when I bring stuff up with Jesse, like you know, the whole thing about the truther feed getting fucked up, the 24-hour truther feed. He actually did it twice, so there was 48 hours worth of truther feed, and mine was the only half hour that got fucked up. And I try to get him to acknowledge it. He does acknowledge it, but very briefly, because he doesn't want to. Like, you would think, if he's really who he says he is, and, you know, at the end of the day, what is spectacular or interesting or whatever to you guys would become rather mundane for him, because he just, you know, truther after truther after truther, damn near everybody says the same shit. You know, he's going to be, naturally, you're just going to be calloused. You know, you're going to be like, it's going to be harder to impress you. So the idea that he would do something and one person would stand out amongst all the rest, you would think as a real truther, he would be he would be going out of his way to say, hey, you guys, you know, of all the videos I do, this guy seems to get the most, interference, and I've never had it happen before or since, but when it was this guy, like, you would think he would, you know, if his goal is truth, if his goal is evolution, you know, evolving enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, that would be the response, not weird jealousy. You know, a high tide raises all ships. He would benefit from that. So why wouldn't he do it? Why would he go out of his way to try to hide me? Or at least hide the facts? You know, the facts are there. It's a fact. Nobody else was interfered with during that telethon. Are you telling me that you, super scrutinizer, super question asker, all that, you don't see that there's something weird going on when only one person experiences something out of many? I mean, it really doesn't matter what it is. You know, if I was the guy pushing Jesus amongst all the other Jesus pushers, and my feed was fucked up, and, you know, I had my own unique perspective on things, you would pay attention to it. Sounds like you don't fit his agenda. Yeah, well, I love when other people say it, because that means I'm communicating. I'm getting through. You're understanding what's happening. And it does sound like what then is his agenda? He would swear up and down that he's not a shill, he's not a bad guy, he's all about the truth and this, that, and the other. So, you know, why would he, why when given the opportunity, come on, let's go. Up. Come on, Broly. Oh. When given the opportunity to engage with me and you know, tell me what I'm wrong about, essentially pushing a narrative and essentially telling some truth, why wouldn't he take it? It's not like he's intimidated, right? He's well experienced in interviews and all that shit, so he shouldn't be a fear. You know? So what is it? And I know I've talked mad shit about him many times. I know word's gotten back to him. And I was getting, before January 28th, I was getting more views than his bullshit ever could. So why wouldn't he either A, you know, take advantage of the situation and try to get something out of it, try to work it to his advantage, or B, try to knock me down a peg. You know, he loves to pretend like I'm some sort of arrogant, egomaniacal, you know, I'm this bad guy. So why wouldn't he do it? Why wouldn't he take me up on it? At the very least, if we're both truthers, if the goal is to get the truth, and I'm spreading something that he doesn't believe to be true, why wouldn't he engage me? I tried. I like, dude, come on, let's do this together. Let's have this conversation. We'll be respectful to each other, and because we're friends. It's not going to be like a typical interaction with a troll or whatever, right? You'll be a good boy, I'll be a good boy. Let's do it. He was so fucking confident that the video that that if I watch this video, that I'm going to get all the answers I need when it comes to, how the Jays took over and all that bullshit. And I was just like, when again, 10 minutes in, I was like, I don't know about this. It's really surprising. You know what else is kind of surprising too? Why haven't the trolls made a fake Jesse Howe profile and pretended to be him? I mean, that's what they do, right? So why wouldn't they do that? I'd love to know what Jesse thinks now about, especially when it comes to the genocide. Especially when it comes to, all the American money and finances and everything that goes to the Jays. Like, it's, this is the thing that he told me I shouldn't talk about because it makes people mad. And who does it make mad? I get the whole this conversation makes Christians mad, but I mean, I'm pretty focused on the Jays. Why is he concerned with what the Jays think? Who do you think provides him the network he's on? I could tell you about another story. So, you guys ever heard of the Truth Frequency Network? Truth Frequency Network is run by a guy, his name's Giles. He claims to be this older biker fellow, whatever it is. I don't know. But back in like 17 or something like that, I was just doing my feed like normal when I noticed this Giles profile is in the comments. This is back when it would tell you, Facebook would tell you, this person is watching. So you could do this. Like, he didn't have to say anything for me to know he was there. Which is, and now when you look at how it works, now that isn't it, that's a negative. Why would it go backwards? Why would it get worse? But it did. So after like a week or so, this Giles guy reaches out and he says, hey, I run the Truth Frequency Network. I think what you do is great. I'm offering you a podcast if you want to be able to do a weekly podcast. You can either do 1 or 2 hours, and you can have whatever it was. I think it was Thursday or Friday, something like that. It might have been Thursday, but you can have Thursday as the day, and and I was like, okay. Deborah Cochran. I don't know if any of you guys know who Deborah Cochran is. She's a pretty prominent truther voice. At least she was. And she was the biggest of his shows, was the Deborah Cochran show on the Truth Frequency Network. And he said that they had over 100,000 viewers, listeners, weekly or whatever. I don't remember all the details. It was a while ago, but it was over 100,000 viewers, listeners. That's funny. My feed's starting to fuck up now. But he says, he gives me, I take the 2 hours. It's from like 9 to 11 on Thursday nights. And so my first video, my first fucking interview, I actually got Matt Landman to come on. And Landman announced the completion and announced the... Like my podcast was his premiere world, announcement that Frankenskies was completed. And that Frankenskies would be like, this is when the world got, I'm sure there was like GoFundMe and there was talks about it, but this was his like coming out party. So to think that this random guy gets Matt Landman of all people to come on his feed to announce his movie, like that's pretty impressive for a first video nobody. So the first video goes by, we do it. I think it's great. It was my first video, so I wish I would have made it more about Matt, but again, it was my first interview. So I said to Matt, hey, again, my first video, I'd really appreciate it if you'd come back next week and we'll make the second video more about you and chemtrails and all that. Because when it comes to chemtrails, I know a lot, but I don't know nearly as much as that guy. And this is sort of before I'd figured out the whole J thing completely. So the second video, we do it, and Giles says to me, everything's great. Is there any way you could not cough as much? And I was like, oh yeah, I had some bad weed, made me cough. Don't worry, it won't happen again. He was like, okay, yeah, I know. And oh wait, so sorry, I'm jumping. It's a while ago, so I'm just sort of remembering. Prior to getting the first show, or Sunday or something, and Deborah Cochran's show is Sunday night, I believe, or at least it was. And I said to him, hey, once he gave me the show, I was like, hey, if you ever need a guest for a show, last minute cancellation, I'm always available. And he was like, funny you say that. Deborah Cochran had a guy cancel. We have a spot open if you want to be here tonight. And I was like, absolutely. I'll do you one better. How about we write a little jingle? Like we do a TBG specific intro for Deborah Cochran's show. And he was like, that would be amazing. So I wrote it real quick. Surprisingly, I was able to get Charles to produce that same day. He produces it. We give it to them. And the last line in it is something about like, either you think the earth is round or flat, one of those two. And he was like, oh man, flat earth, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, just so you know, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about everything. I don't hesitate or shy away from anything. So if you have any sort of hang-ups about I shouldn't talk about this or that, it's not going to work. And he was like, no, you talk about whatever you want. It's okay, this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, cool. So I do the first two shows with Matt Landman. Everything's great. That Saturday after the second show, he sends me a banner that I can, a graphic that I can post all over to promote for my own show and blah, blah, blah. My third week, I line up the host of the Anonymous. Can't remember which Anonymous group it was, but he had me and, what's up, Beef? He'd had me on his show before, so I was going to have him on mine. And he was a guy from the States, but he lived in Poland. And in order for him to be, available for my show, he had to stay up till like 3 a.m. or whatever. And he was all down for it. So the week goes by, and I just assume I haven't heard from Giles because he knows, like, I'm going to be there when the time says to be there. I'm going to produce. I always do. I don't come up with excuses. So Thursday comes around, and I'm, kind of thinking it's weird I haven't heard from him. But again, I just think maybe he's, he knows I'm professional, so he's not worried about it. So So the time's coming close. It's like 7 o'clock or whatever. It's getting ready for the tariffs are to distract you. It's a distraction, man. I'm getting ready to do it, and I'm like, man, I gotta reach out to this guy just to see what's going on. I got a weird feeling. So I go to look for him in my, on my page, and it doesn't come up. What the fuck? And back then I had 2 Facebook pages. You know, unlike the people who have their 9, 10 fake accounts like the guy yesterday who kept flying the pedo flag. I only had 2 pages. And each one I had to give an ID for. And like, I don't know how people are allowed to have multiple pages, but apparently other people are. But I can't find him on my page, so I sign into the other page and I look him up. And I send him a message like, "Hey, dude, it's almost showtime. I don't know if I got blocked or what happened. What's going on here? I'm not sure, but it's almost showtime. What are we doing?" And he doesn't respond. So I'm like, like, aren't you going to say something, dude? Like, what's going on? And I can tell the bubbles come down. He's seen my message. And I think he ends up blocking that page too. And I'm like, I think I sent him some message beforehand, like, you presented yourself as this no-nonsense biker guy who I would assume isn't afraid. So why aren't you, if you're going to stop my feed, if you at least tell me. Like, I don't really give a shit anyway. I appreciate it, but it's not like I gave that much of a shit about it. It is what it is. And and I never hear from him. And of course, I don't do the show. So, it's so funny because I bring up all these names, and it's like if you've been in this community for a while, you know these names. So this is back when I hadn't quite figured out Liam X mail yet. Liam X, you know who Liam X is? Him and I were in communication. I had suggested to him, like, dude, you got to get your ugly ass face off of the fucking videos. You're missing a bunch of teeth and shit. You do a good job, but your face isn't conducive. You got a good face for radio. But he reaches out to me and he's like, "Hey, dude, guess what? I got this guy." Because him and I had been talking about maybe doing a podcast together where he was the Jamie. Joe Rogan has Jamie. And it was like, "Yeah, we'll keep you off to the side because you're fucking ugly. So I'll be the guy and then you're the sidekick." Well, he reaches out and he's like, "Hey, dude, I just got this opportunity. This guy from the Truth Frequency Network wants me to do a show, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "Funny you said that. Why don't you ask him about me?" Because, I told him what happened. And he was like, "Wow, that's really weird." So he reaches out to Giles and asks him about it. And Giles tells him that all of the other radio hosts, all the other podcast hosts he has, sans Deborah Cochran, all had a meeting and they decided that I said fuck too much and that I cough too much. And they all threatened to quit if he didn't fire me. Now, if you're like this is the same thing I was saying about Jesse. If I'm such a threat to your entire, staff that they threaten to quit over me, that should tell you something. Why were they all watching my feed to begin with? Are you telling me that all of your hosts watch everybody else's show? Do you know how stupid that is? But he like that just doesn't make any sense. So I reached out to Deborah and I asked her, "Hey, did you hear anything about this?" And she was like, "No, but let me see what I can do." And she reaches back out to me like, "Yeah, I guess it was you said fuck too much," and he's here. You said fuck too much and I don't know. That's kind of weird. And I was like, is Giles that kind of guy where he doesn't communicate? She was like, "No, if you fuck up, he's the first to tell you, and he'll fire you in a heartbeat if he wants to." But I've never seen him like ignore someone or something before. And she just didn't. She was like, it is what it is, and I didn't expect her to give up her show or anything like that over it. But the the thing that makes more sense is that Giles got the phone call. He got the "what do you mean?" or he got the "what are you doing?" phone call. This guy is off limits. If you don't want to lose your entire network, you need to drop this guy. That's what seems more likely to me. You can think however you want, but that's what it seemed like to me. That's what makes actual sense. As the proprietor of a network, if you get your Howard Stern or whatever that everybody is so threatened by that they threaten to quit, you boost that guy to the moon. Obviously, there's something there if all of these fucking idiots, are worried. I mean, at the very least, if you're another podcaster, you're gonna think like, I'm better than this guy. I can steal some of his viewers. If he gets a lot of viewers, well, I can get a bunch of viewers from him. Like, you don't hide from someone like me. You embrace and engage someone like me. And, Liam ends up going crazy. Liam is such a fucked up, another one of these really fucked up stories that I saw before it sort of came out, and I tried to sort of say something like, do you guys see this? And when I do say it, when I call the person out before the thing happens, I'm the bad guy. But then, Liam was nuts. Liam was on national news because he was the guy that supposedly made threats to the head of YouTube and in emails, and the FBI arrested him, and he disappeared for a couple years. But ask yourself, if I would have had the same, I would have had my podcast for the last 8 years or 10 years, whatever it is. 100,000 plus viewers. Imagine if I would have had all these viewers all this time as I progressed through the thing and started calling out Israel and all that other shit. Imagine how that would have worked out. But these are stories, like these kinds of things happen all the time in my world. And instead of, the average person just using the Occam's razor, the common sense razor, and trying to figure out what things make the most sense, people believe what they want to believe. You would think they would like you as the Juan Williams of their show. Don't know who Juan Williams is, but whatever, you would think. If I'm gonna bring people to the show, to the network, at the very least, you think you can get those people yourself. You don't hide. And the idea that I say fuck too much, like, if that was really a problem, then it could have been suggested, hey, what? Like, you say fuck too much. Can you tune that down? Like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Well, I don't understand why it offends anybody. The dogs are in Nathan's room.
I know. I'm getting my tea. But it's like, and I ask you guys, like, make it make sense. Just make it make. I think it was, and, well, runs this huge network, yada, yada, yada. Why would he not see the gold mine that dropped in his lap? I pointed out because it's not typical. When nobody just starts going live to thousands of people, starts getting thousands of people off their, and then ends up with 18, 20 plus thousand views by the time the thing's over multiple times. Nope, that's not something everybody does. You don't just start talking truth or stuff and that just happens. It's not how it works. And the idea that I've been able to build my network up to the point where it gets at least 20,000 views 4 or 5, maybe even 6 times. That's not common. And I don't even think it's me. It's not me. It's the things I'm talking about. Everybody sees the things I'm saying. Everybody feels like I feel about a lot of this shit. They when you finally stumble across someone that's telling the truth like it is, that's refreshing. You know, it wasn't about I'm just so good looking or I'm just so charismatic. It's not that. It was just refreshing. You go watch damn near any other truther, especially like a white guy, and they're going to talk about the same shit. Either they're pro-Trump or they're against Trump. But they're not like, it's all bullshit. And the vast, vast majority of them believe in God. Believe in God, believe in Jesus, believe things have been corrupted. And this is what I was saying the other day when I was telling my wife, like it used to be a lot better. It used to be a lot more free reign. I don't think they realized just what we would do with this. But when you think about the Amanda Danielle story, you know, I have personal stories with all of these guys. With Ken O'Keefe, with Brian Mullen, with with Madison Star Moon. Like, I have actual personal stories with these people. And of all the people that have survived and have been consistent and haven't had these long breaks where they get reprogrammed or whatever, it's me. I'm the only one that's been consistently going this whole time. And for some reason,
What came after Sega Genesis, and what was the other one?
Super Nintendo?
That was the first.
I don't know what you're talking
Or
about.
Nintendo. Was Nintendo the first game station?
Atari? I mean, Atari was before that. ColecoVision. Like,
Sega after Atari. What was right after Sega? It was PlayStation.
no, Sega. The first Sega was the Mega Drive, and
What did we get to play Mario Brothers on?
Nintendo.
Nintendo. Just Nintendo.
She's got to make these texts. That's what's important. The kid who doesn't get picked for dodgeball is really because he's so good the other players are afraid, not because he might suck at dodgeball. Yep, that's what it is. I suck at this. That's why you watch me every single day for hours at a time, for months at a time. Because I suck at this. Yep. That makes sense. And again, instead of addressing the narrative, you say something stupid. So it makes sense that a bunch of podcasters would have gotten together and listened to my 2 shows and then thought I said fuck too much on a free speech network. Gotcha. This is a critique of your cohort. I don't have a problem. Oh, yes, you do. But Madison Star Moon, it was the same thing, right? This is back in 15, 16 when I was all chemtrail oriented, before you could go live. One day, I get a message out of the blue from her saying, "Hey, I do a podcast. Any way you want to? I have a thing. I do a roundtable podcast. I bring in 4 or 5, 6 truthers, and we all sit around and we talk. And I have a space open. Do you want to be there? And of course, I'm always like, hell yeah. So I get this message like a couple of hours beforehand. Hey, can you talk? Yeah, whatever. So she calls me. She's like, oh man, I'm getting trolled so bad. No, she has me call her. I call her. I'm actually going to pick up a prescription at the time. So I'm at the CVS and I call her and she answers the phone. She's like, hello? And I'm like, hey, what's going on? It's Guy. She's like, who? I'm like, Guy, from Facebook. Who is this? It's Guy. I just talked to you. Oh, yeah, okay. She starts telling me about how she gets trolled. They call her all the time. They do all these things. And granted, that is what happened to me. But like she was saying, they're probably going to call. Hey, when they call, how about we do a 3-way and we smash them? And I was like, all right, whatever. They never end up calling. And she's talking to me about how, like, dejected she is, right? She's saying, like, I don't understand why everybody else isn't doing this. And I'm so, I'm being fucked with so much. And and why isn't everybody else doing this? Why isn't, and I was like, listen. Like, I don't know why it became a counseling session, but I was like, listen, what you do is amazing. The fact that you have the drive and the gumption to do it, like, that shows you're better than other people. Like, you should be proud of yourself. Not everybody can do what you do. And she was like, well, I guess, okay. And so I had to, like, pull her back from the ledge, essentially, for like 20 minutes. And she's like, all right. Well, we're going to do live we'll go live at like 8. So if you call like 7:45, that'd be cool. And this is before I was really, I was on the map like I was apparently. I don't know. My first year, my rise was meteoric. Gosh, it sure is weird how they keep trying to interfere with me talking about their people. Even though they're not their people though, right? MSM, Madison Star Moon, mainstream media. So I call, 7:45. She answers again. Hello? I'm like, yeah, this Guy again, blah, blah. She's like, oh, who is this? Who is this? I'm like, it's Guy. Like, calm down. Like, what are you okay? She's like, yeah, it just, they've just been calling me so much. I bet they're going to call here. When they call again, we'll do. And I'm like, whatever, So every time the phone would ring, she'd be like, all right, here they go. Come on, hang on. I'm going to switch over and then I'll come back. And every single time she thought it was going to be the trolls, it was one of her guests. So 8 o'clock shows up, or 5 minutes before 8, she pulls us all in the group, like in the meeting, whatever, on the phone. We're on the phones, and she says, look, my job is to basically be a fly on the wall. If I'm talking and you guys aren't doing your job, this is a platform for you guys. So let's have a good show. And what everybody's going to do is they'll introduce themselves. They'll say a quick piece about themselves, and then we'll all get to talking when everybody's done. Mind you, there's like 6 people. I'm one of 6, 5 or 6 people. So the shit starts. And she is just talking incessantly. Like, she's constantly putting in her bits. But I'm at this point, I know I'm low man on the totem pole. Everybody else that was there was a much more prominent figure in the world, in the conspiracy world. So I had no problem being last. Like, I know my role. I got to earn my position. I know all that. So me going last was never an issue for me. But everybody starts doing their introductions, and they're not just saying their name, they're going into a diatribe about what they believe in. And each person ends up taking like 10 fucking minutes, 15 minutes to do their thing. And it's like, we only have an hour. Maybe it's an hour and a half, but like, sitting there just listening to person after person say the same shit over and over again, I start getting a little antsy. And certain people say certain things, and I kind of pipe up, and I'm like, well, what about this? And they're like, well, hang on, we'll talk about it in a little bit. You know, you got to, you know, blah, blah, blah. So at one point, we're on like the fourth guy. We're like a half hour in, 40 minutes in. He's this goofy ass rock star, like this. He's got this 80s band rock and roll, but he's like 60. Forgot his name. I forgot all these people's names. But he's like the third person to bring up, we're not on the gold standard. We need to get back on the gold standard. And finally, I'm just like, you know what? Gold is just a shiny rock. The fact that they have us believing that gold has value is stupid. If you think that the money system being based on the gold is the reality, like, it's just foolish. Like, you're just duped. It's just a shiny rock that's one of the shiny rocks they decided was the most valuable. And I just get attacked. Like, dude, why are you saying that? You know, blah blah blah. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I thought we were supposed to be, you know, giving quick introductions, and then we were going to talk about these things. Like, why is everybody talking so much? Why are we not having the discussion? And why are all of you saying the same things? And Madison Star Moon, Amanda Danielle just starts attacking me. You know, you're just blah blah blah, and it goes for about a minute. And one of the other 5 people was like, actually, I think he's right. You know, the gold thing is silly, and we need to start looking at things differently. And you know, he just got ignored basically. But after a minute of getting attacked, I was like, look, I don't need this. I'm good. You guys have a good fucking show. You want to talk about the same things? Go right ahead. Have a good day. And I hung up. And I, you know, wife asked what happened, and I kind of told her, and she's like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, nothing. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to even bring this shit up. I'm just going to go about my business as normal. And this is, again, before you could go live. So I used to make 10, 15-minute videos and upload them. Doing this, but, you know, and talking about how I wish there was a way we could do the live, but that's what I would do back then. And those videos would get 3, 4, 5,000 views. That's why my rise was so incredible. I went from having like 150 friends and 30 following to 5,000 friend limit and 2,600 following within a year. And my shit just took off. So the next day, I thought about it. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to address what happened, or am I just going to, whatever, let it go? And I decided to let it go. Until I get a couple of messages from another people who know both of us. And they say things like, oh, man, you know, Amanda Danielle is tearing you apart. She's making all these videos about you and talking all this shit. And I'm like, wow, that's really weird. All I did was disagree with her. And back then I used to drink Arizona iced teas all the time. And so I made a video to tell my side of the story. I called it the Madison Star Moon Chronicles Part 1 because I knew it was just the beginning. I made a video, told my side, and posted it and waited to see what would happen. Well, I get messages from her about, you know, she starts, not only did she start messaging me, I don't know if, wait, maybe she didn't start messaging me yet. She starts going on all of my feeds and going, we don't need your drunk nonsense on in the community or something like that. She's referring to the Arizona cans and saying that I'm drinking alcohol or beer or I don't even know. But she's then going on all of my videos, all of my posts, and basically spamming me, basically trolling me. And I just thought it was so weird. And I was like, you know, and then the more she would do, the more parts to the video I would make. And I'd make, you know, telling people exactly what was happening. Why is this crazy bitch doing this? So she ends up finally reaching out, and she's like, look, let's just call a truce. I won't talk about you anymore. You don't talk about me anymore. And I was like, fuck you. I'll talk about you all day. You could talk about me all you want. Everything you say and do doesn't affect me. The more you talk about me, the better. So you talk about me all you want. I am not going to stop talking about you till I'm done. And she's just so shocked that somebody doesn't just like fall for her bullshit. I don't know. But she you know, I make another couple videos and then I just sort of forget about it. Whatever, I move on. And I don't really hear anything. And then one day, somebody sends me a message saying, you know, hey, I just got removed because she just posted this picture of herself. And in the picture, she's wearing a Freemason ring. And he said, I asked her about the ring. And when I asked her about the ring, she blocked me. And I've been a supporter of hers for years. She didn't even respond. She just blocked me. And I was like, yeah, duh. And I don't hear from her for a while. I don't hear anything. And then a couple another months goes by. And this video is making the rounds of her supposedly being harassed. There we go again. You don't know if those are actual cops in the video. You see two men in uniform walk up to her. And it's already like it's set up. Like there's a camera filming her filming the chemtrails and then the cops walk up. So to me, I just think it's bullshit, you know. Cops aren't going to fuck with you for filming chemtrails. This is not how that shit works. So I call you a liar. But then again, you know, whatever. Time passes. And then when Matt Landman comes on my show, we talk about it. And I had sent him a message warning him about her prior to. And he was like, you know, and when I sent him it, he was like, you know, resistant and hesitant to it. But during the feed, we were talking about her, and he was like, yeah, I don't really get it. You know, she came to the last chemtrail convention I was at, and she had this big security guard with her, and she just kept talking about how dangerous everything is and how scary it all is. And it was like it dawned on me at that moment, that's what her job is. Be able to, like, what does she do? Where does she get her money from? To be able to fly across the country to go to chemtrail conventions, that costs money. To stay in the hotels you stay in, that costs money. To rent the car that you needed to rent, especially back then, that costs money. What about the security guard? He costs money. What about all the food you need to eat while you're at these conventions and whatnot? That all costs money. Where is this bitch getting her money from? And it dawned on me that her whole perspective, her whole thing is to try to scare truthers into not doing it. That's her job. Her job is to make you think it's really bad, it's really scary, it's really dangerous. It's not worth your effort. Because look what happens to her. And you know, at any point, I've been saying these things about her for years. At any point, she could have come and refuted any of this. She could have come and she could have done all that, but she did it. And she disappeared. there were these long periods of time where she would disappear, and it was like her, Liam, a few other people, they all disappeared around the same time and were brought back in for COVID. And I said it back then, and these are agents. They have to have regular looking people, agents, to go out there and corral the truthers. And that's what she does. That's what a lot of these people do. What do you think? Anomaly is a Fox News correspondent who's actually telling the truth? Who's talking about truth or shit? Do people really believe that? Guess she is MSM going for the fear BS. That was her thing. And like I say, they pull them out and then they reinsert them into the narrative whenever they need something. And when it came to COVID, they tried bringing both of them back out. Like, I don't know if she's still doing her thing. I haven't seen anything Madison Star Moon in a long time. But I know that, again, my rise was meteoric until I started talking about who. When I was doing like everybody else does and posting pretty pictures and, complaining about it, then I was allowed to get all kinds of views and all kinds of success. It wasn't until I started asking, like, who is actually doing this? Who's approving this? What government legislation is allowing this to happen? This has to go all the way up. And of course, it took me to Israel. It took me to the Jays and all that. And, that was when things started going in a different direction for me. When I stopped playing along and Anonymous Bites Back, was that it? I mean, if you saw what 2000, like, again, because I suck so bad, I'm not good at this. The first couple years, I did multiple radio shows, multiple podcasts would have me on, and we would talk about it. And as soon as I would talk about like flat Earth or something like that, it was like they would do the same thing that regular people do when you try. Like, it was always just so weird to me. And I would have these sort of, fights with these people where because they're the host, they provide the network, they provide the platform, you're supposed to just shut up and take it. They're the power here. And I was never good at that. I was never just good at shutting up and taking it to be able to get my own personal advantage, which is probably pretty stupid. But I hate stupidity. I hate bullshit. And I'm always going to call it out when I see it. And that's that, these are just a few of the stories that happen this way. There's a if you're in the Detroit metro area and Canada, Ontario, Canada, there's a radio station here called 89X, and 89X was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, radio station in this area. The new rock alternative, 89X, 88.7 FM. And one of the top guys in the whole network was a guy called Greg Gnip. And I've been a fan of Greg Gnip's since I was a kid. Like, he'd been the main DJ guy on 89X since I made that transition into being a kid that listens to music, And so I had reached out to him for years, sending him stuff, trying to get him to pay attention. And he had said, he liked bits and pieces. He's a real nice guy. I can't remember what song it was of ours. But you know, I'm not even sure how we became sort of friends through Facebook, but like at one point he invited me to his wife's birthday party at a bar, and like we showed up and we met him, and we you know, we hung out a little bit. Like we had this sort of friendship, very, very one-sided, very, very A-B side friendship, but there was a connection there. And so maybe it was, I don't know, 19, 18, something like that. But I'd sent him a song and he just loved it. He said that over the last 20 years, he had been given CDs from every band you can imagine. And he hadn't done the thing where he listens to a song over and over and over again in that entire 20 years. But he did that with one of our songs. And he and I started talking, and he was saying that he was leaving the radio. He didn't want to do it anymore. And he was thinking about, you know, what else he could do. And I suggest, why don't you be our manager, you know? And he was like, yeah, he wanted to do it. Like he was all about it. And he was, you know, he was saying, you know, I'm something about like, I'm not going to, I said, well, you're not going to need any more clients. He was like, oh no, I'm sure you're going to have me plenty busy enough. And I'm sure with me, we're going to be, you know, we'll make this thing huge. And I was super excited. And this is when my family and I went to Great Wolf Lodge the first time, I believe. But I did everything I could to not mention his name because I didn't want him to get the phone call. But I had talked about it. I talked about how I was really excited. This really prominent guy was talking about leaving and he wanted to do this. And again, the fact that he said that he put our song on repeat and just listened over and over again. Like it was real. And so right when he was, you know, set to do this, his like best buddy got brain cancer and was going through some so he was like, you know, sorry, I got to deal with this right now. I can't jump ship. I can't change my life right now. I got so much going on, but this is only going to be a, you know, couple weeks, whatever. So, you know, a couple weeks go by. So I talked to him while we were at Great Wolf Lodge, and he was like, yeah, let's get together next week. You know, it was like a Saturday or Sunday. And he was like, when you get back home from Great Wolf Lodge, hit me up and we'll hook up and we'll start pushing this, you know? And I was so excited, and my wife I was live, and she was like, what's going on? Why? And I was like, you know, I said, Ganip called. Or Ganip said, no, I said, Ganip said we're going to meet next week. And as soon as I said it, I was like, fuck. What did I just do? I fucking said his name. Needless to say.
You went in and deleted that right away, that video.
Yeah, I did actually. I deleted the video right away. Like I ended it and deleted it, but it was too late. That him saying, let's hang out, let's meet up next week was the last time I talked to him. He just didn't, like he would respond periodically when I would, you know, be like, happy birthday or whatever. But I reached out and, you know, multiple times I was like, dude, do you realize like what you're doing to me? Like you led me to the top of the fucking mountain and then just left me there. Like, what do you, we need to can you at least tell me why the fuck you went from I listened to your song 20 times in a row and I'm going to quit my job and be your manager and blah, 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 to you won't even talk to me? Can you at least tell me what happened? And
Really, he was told not to.
I don't know what else you would call it. That's the point of me telling this story. What else would it be? Why else would this man say, let's get together next week, and then bail and never tell me why? These aren't like insecure, pussy people. These are people who made something with their lives. They stand up for themselves. They can be confrontational when the time comes. And yet, when it comes to me, they just won't. Another time I'm parking cars. I'm at the Roma Cafe where I worked. And I used to always have demo CDs, burnt demo CDs with me, because this was the oldest restaurant in Detroit. This was a place where famous people would come. Paul Rosenberg came there one day. But these two guys come in for lunch. The one guy parks with me while his friend parked and walked up. So as they're out front and they're talking, I go and I get the car and they're sitting there having the conversation. I hear them say something about, the one dude's a piano player and in the industry. They're in the industry. So I asked the friend, I asked, what do you guys do? And the one guy was like, oh, I'm a piano player or some shit. And the other guy was like, oh, I'm an entertainment attorney. And I'm like, oh, entertainment attorney. Well, can I give you my demo CD? And, if you like it, you like it. And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I give him the CD. And this is back when I worked. I had to leave my house. I had to be at work at 9:45. And I would work until like 2 o'clock. Then I would go home. And I would come back. I'd have to be there by 4:45. So I had this small little window in between my shifts every day. And so before I could leave, I get this call from him. And he's like, hey, I listened I really liked what you're doing. Is there any way you can come to my office and we can talk? And I was like, fuck yeah, I have this break. Let me do that. So I go to his office in Grosse Pointe, which is the richest of the rich. And his little dinky office is in, like, the rent in this office had to be insane. That's the area it was in. And once you get inside, it's really, really nice on the inside. And there's gold records and shit on the walls and all that. So him and I talk, and he tells me he used to be a policeman or a sheriff or some shit, and he went into this, and he's had some success. He's done very well for himself, and he really likes what I'm doing. And I was like, yeah, well, I want to do things differently. I'm not the guy that's going to tell people to go party and drink Bacardi. This is not my thing. I'm not the guy that's pushing niggas, shooting each other, niggas and drugs and bitches and hoes. I'm not that guy. And he was like, no, I really like what you're doing. I think there's a lot of potential here. I'm going to call some people I know overseas, and I'll be in touch with you. We had this great meeting. It was like a half hour. I was so fucking excited. I could not tell you the feeling of glee I had when I left that fucking office. I was so excited. He wasn't talking like, oh, this might, maybe this, maybe that. he was like, we got something here. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna call my people overseas, and we're gonna do something with this. And I was like, I was just fucking thrilled. What I mean, you know, that's what you do this for. And to me, that just made the story of parking cars, give him the CD, like it just fit. It just worked. Never heard from him again. These aren't people who do that. They don't, they don't. It's not like when you think about like auditions where the person, okay, thank you, we'll call you. It's not like that. These are people who don't waste their time with that kind of shit. They don't waste their time blowing smoke up someone's ass like that. So again, you have to ask yourself, what made this guy hear what we do, call me, have me come to... We're back? Oh, okay. Then disappear.
Did you think he wanted me?
Mm-hmm. What? Explain it. Are you saying the guy just had a change of heart? The guy, at the very least, he couldn't say, yeah, I called my people and they were, they just weren't interested. I'm sorry. If anything comes through, I'll let you know. Like, he couldn't have done that. He couldn't have answered an email, a text message. He couldn't answer a phone. Nothing. I ended up finding that guy years later through Facebook, and I asked him, what the hell happened? And he was like, oh, I got out of things. I got out of it. You got out of the industry, what, the day you talked to me? You didn't make it sound like you were going to. If anybody can explain to me any of these things, these situations, I'd love to hear it. Give me a reason why other than they got the phone call. Because I try. I'm the most self-critical person you know. I'm always criticizing myself and critiquing myself and trying to find why I'm failing. I try to. That's why our music just gets better and better. At least on my end, it does for sure, and his does too. But my writing has improved so much over the years because I'm never happy with it. I always think I can do better. That's what the ghost hunters on that show do. The supernatural community, all fear. Ghost hunters is just a bunch of fucking nonsense. Ghost hunters is one of those super fake distractions that you'll find all these people that will show all this interest in other, like they go, well, it doesn't affect me, so I don't care. But if they love it when somebody else's house is haunted or says to be haunted. And then all these thousands of dollars are spent to show nothing. Over and over again, nothing. It's so fake and stupid that when you say, what about the genocide happening? They go, oh, that's so far away, it doesn't involve me, blah, blah, blah. But the ghost hunter does. Gotcha. Strange, maybe you're on some kind of list. I mean, again, are we dumb enough to think that they don't have some kind of list? If you were a tyrannical system that ran the people through fear and control, you imprisoned the people but without physically doing it, and you weren't about the people, being free mentally and reaching our potential. You wanted people to be good Christians, good Muslims, good you had all these parameters set, these controls set. Why wouldn't you have a system in place to protect all of that? Why wouldn't you have, excuse me, fake profiles, fake characters? You're going to let the opposition thrive without your interference? You're going to provide the opposition the platform and not interfere with it? Like, it's just foolish to think that they would do that. Especially when you think like a list goes, well, who's going to be on the list? The people that can inspire other people to ask questions. All the rest of the shit, crime wise or whatever, that's easy to control. That they can physically control that. The mental aspect of things. How do you control the mentality of people? How do you control whether people rise against or not? And that's, again, why would they provide it to me and not interfere? And you can clearly see it on YouTube. Like I wish it didn't negatively affect me like it does. But YouTube provided me such an amazing example of it. If anybody can tell me how someone goes from, thousands of views, 10,000 views, 15,000 views. It was 2,000 to 3,000, from the point when Trump took over, 1, 2, 3,000. And then suddenly January 28th, it drops. And it goes to, I can't get more than, say, I got 300 yesterday, which was kind of shocking. 300 plus yesterday. But normally, initially, I was getting like 50 views. I went from thousands down to like 50. I've built it up to the point now again where I'm back to getting a couple of hundred views. But how does somebody go from thousands of views to tens of views while doing the same thing? It wasn't like I drastically changed. I finally crossed some line. I mean, even if you said that, it wouldn't make sense. Sans me, I joined NAMBLA or some shit. Even then, I can't imagine all the same people on the same day. All these people went, fuck this guy. I've been watching this guy for weeks. It's been positive. I've been sharing, but suddenly, I'm done. How would that even begin to make sense to you? And if it does, by all means, please explain it to me, because I'm struggling with it. I think it's unreasonable. It's unbelievable. It's just stupid. And I challenge you to try to find something else. Find some other way that this makes sense. Other than what I'm saying, give me something else that makes sense. Tell me how it must be me because I suck and I'm the kid that doesn't get picked for dodgeball. You pop up on my feed every day. I watch for a little while. It makes me feel better about myself. Hope you get better. Yup. That's what it must be. This guy feels better about himself because at least he's not someone that calls out pedos. At least he's not someone that hates genocide. He's a good Christian. Why would I pop up on this doofus's feed, but not all those other people that used to be here? Or I pop up on all their feeds too, but on the same day they all just decided, fuck it, we're not going to watch. It just doesn't work. That's not how things work. That's not how the system makes sense. And that's the part that's it's just like everything else. It's like this dumbass here. This dumbass isn't going to come on here and tell me what I'm wrong about. This dumbass could I've told you guys, you could absolutely negatively affect me. And like he's trying to negatively affect me, right? I feel better about myself. I hope you get better. Stuff like that. This is that passive aggressive bullshit, right? So he's coming on here out of the blue to talk shit. But it's not going to be anything intelligent. It's not going to be anything about what I'm wrong about. You called out, but you don't do nothing about it. You called out, but you don't do nothing about it. You're right, I don't do nothing. I do a live feed every day. That's something. I do way more than the average person does. And as far as what am I supposed to tie the red bandana around my head and give myself a machine gun and a big knife and have somebody drop me from a parachute there so I can go take out Netanyahu? Is that what I should be doing? Or should I be protesting going to Washington and holding us? Hey, look at me. Hey, should I be doing that? Talk about fucking stupid. If the thing that I do didn't matter, it wouldn't require so much effort and energy. You wouldn't be here day after day after day, trying to talk shit, but doing such a poor job at it. Were you this irrelevant with the other streamers? That might be your answer. That must be it. Was I this irrelevant with the other streamers? What does that even mean? You don't listen anyway. I give her up. Yeah, I'm going to listen to you. One, I can't hear you. But two, what are you even saying? You're not making points. See, when you come through and you're going to talk shit, but you'll talk shit that I won't, and I'll listen to that, but you won't actually like debunk or make anything intelligent, say anything intelligent, because I won't listen to that part. Gotcha. Funny how you always hide behind the same things. Hello to France. What is this, Halim? What's up, Halim? Please get a job. That stuff's all better than ranting on the internet. Right, but not better than trolling the person on the internet. Yep, and I'm just ranting. So going out with a sign like your dumbass Trump supporter, your fellow dumbass Trumpanzees, standing on a corner and yelling a bunch of racist shit at people, that's better than doing a feed that you can't stop watching. Gotcha. I love when people tell me, like, what, are you working? Why aren't you working? Obi, I might be sitting in my boy glasses, yeah. Hard to make points with somebody just renting. Yup. I'm swell. How are you? I'm as swell as I can be for someone in a world where Jays control everything. They're committing genocide right now. They consistently rape people, mostly children in Hollywood, and they send a bunch of fucking effort. You heard the Team Jorge story, didn't you? If you're in France, story. It's just a few minutes of, yep, okay, buddy. Every single day. Yep. Anytime I go live, because you got so much going on that you can stop whatever you're doing at any point of the day so you can come to my feed because you hate me so much. You're standing in your bedroom yelling racist shit. It's hilarious and entertaining to laugh at you, not with you. What's racist about what I'm saying? And again, it's hilarious to think about all the pedophilia and the genocide. Yeah, that totally makes sense, dude. You sound like a good person. You don't sound like you're a pedo. Thanks to share, bro. Please do. If you're watching, like, share, sub. It helps. Halim, did you hear about the Team Jorge story? Radio France. You know, it was a joint story between French news outlets and actually Israeli news outlets as well. But at least in France, the media picked up the story, I believe. Did you hear about it? And like, this is one of those things that I'll bring up that none of these, it's 10:17 a.m. I don't hate you. There you go, hiding your comments. So, do you think that the truth or community is compromised? Truth or community? Or that some of them are playing characters? I just want to make sure I understand your point from earlier. Of course it's compromised. Why wouldn't it be? Do you think it's not? Like I keep saying, do you really think they're giving us the platform and not interfering with it? Do you even understand what Team Jorge is? For me, it's 16th, 17. So that's what, 4? 4:17? You know, the yellow vest movement was real big in France in 2018, 19. They used COVID to shut that shit down. You know, the people of France have been kicking ass for the last few years. They've been protesting like crazy, and you don't hear about it on the news here. No, they don't talk about it. Most people wouldn't think that there's anything going on in France. But the French people, they seem to be turned on, man. They seem to be willing to fight their system. You know, the farmers and shit. The farmers in France are just insane. Sorry, I don't speak slowly. I'm talking about how great the French people are for fighting against the Israeli system that controls everything. The J system that controls everything. The chosen. And like I say, I'll bring up all kinds of things like Team Jorge, like Operation Cast Thy Bread, like the Samson option, but Team Jorge specifically, right? And do any of these idiots bring it up? Do they say anything? No. You know, as far as the truther thing being compromised, I mean, what do you think controlled opposition is? I think a lot of people are unwilling or unknowing agents. They don't realize that they're actually doing what the system wants. That's why they're allowed to have such prominent money-making feeds. Because they say the right things, and you know, the government, the system doesn't have to interfere with them. At the end of the day, if you're somebody that pushes Jesus, they don't really care what you're doing, because you're telling people to you know, the solution to the problem is to fall for the problem. How many bots did Team Jorge have again? 30 to 40,000. Just one Israeli Black Ops group had 30 to 40,000 fake profiles at their disposal. And you'll see Facebook, you know, you'll see the people of Facebook putting out stories about how they're so proud of the fact that they deleted, you know, 800 bot farm profiles out of the Philippines, 1,000 profiles out of China. You never see a single story about Facebook deleting Israeli profiles, and just one Israeli Black Ops group. Yeah, 30 to 40,000. Just one group. Think about how insane that is. Not to mention, that part was removed from the story, the Wikipedia story. Wikipedia used to say it. Somebody went through and decided to remove that. But this is that thing. Like this is... Where are all these smart-ass trolls when it comes to Team Jorge? Why don't they say something? Why don't they debunk it? Why don't they, you know, even address it? Why do they try to get us to talk about other things every time I try talking about Team Jorge? I don't know. Like, are you expecting Tom Brokaw to come on TV like, this just in, you know, Team Jorge is a thing and you should be scared of it and read everything you can? Like, they're not going to do that. What else can I do? I'm never going to provide you with an official document that says, you are right, Guy Williams. Show it to everybody so they can see this is notarized by the blah, blah. This is a signa signed by the governor. Guy, you are right about all that truther stuff. That's never going to happen. So what does the average person require? I mean, the average person is a Christian. So that means they believe in Christianity for absolutely no reason. You haven't required any proof, any evidence, nothing for you to create your foundational religion, your foundational beliefs. You're willing to raise your family in an environment, give money, do this, follow these rules, all this other shit for something with zero evidence. I consistently provide you multiple pieces of evidence, and that's not good enough. So where is the disconnect? Yep, I only get 7. I love when people keep bringing up what censorship looks like. Right? It would be a whole different thing if I was sitting here complaining about the 10, 20,000 views. And if you paid attention back then, I told you this isn't going to last. Once 20,000 gets hit, they're going to start shutting shit down. I told you repeatedly, there were many, many videos where the comments would get shut off or whatever it is. But I told you guys, this isn't going to last. I knew what was going to happen. You didn't. But to think that a page goes from thousands of views, as many as 500 at one time, down to 7, what other than censorship, what would you call it? What do you think how do you think it works? All of these people who come in here and talk their shit, but don't want to talk bad about Israel, about the Jays, about the genocide, the pedophilia, none of it. They're much more concerned with me. Who the fuck do you think that is? I guarantee if you go talk to any of your neighbors and you say, hey, what do you think we should do about pedos? They're going to be like, fucking kill them. Let's kill them all. Yet these guys, no opinion whatsoever. They're more concerned with me, with my beliefs, than they are any of this shit. Like, do you not see like how fucking stupid these people are? Sir, do you do anything other than blah, 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 blah? Says the person who watches me daily for hours. Like, how is that not... I'm the one that's sitting here asking why stupid is stupid. Why stupid does stupid things. Of course stupid's going to do and say stupid things.
I think you will too.
Of course stupid isn't going to realize how ridiculous they are commenting on me doing something that's productive and transparent and out in the open, and they make fake profiles to troll my page for hours at a time because I'm doing something wrong. That makes sense. Yeah, wasn't trying to do a Tom Brokaw impersonation. Good try, though. I've got a theory. What if the original surge of viewers you experienced was Team Jorge? Then after addressing a threat, they left, dropping your viewership. Yep, that must be what it is. That's why these people are still here doing this. That's why we have so many people who aren't like, oh, dude, you think we should kill pedos? You got my support. You think we should stop giving American tax dollars to Israel? You got my support. Who are you? Who are these random dumbasses who come through just to talk shit? Any time of day, for any length that I want to go live, they will be here. They got nothing going on in their lives, but it's me. I'm the one that's wrong. That makes so much sense. In other words, Team Jorge was really responsible. Yep, that's what it must be. They were responsible for the rise, but not the fall and then the subsequent. And it's happened multiple times. And never mind all the people that have said, like there'll be plenty of people that come through periodically and be like, dude, I finally found your page again. What happened? I've been looking for it, this, that, and the other. Everyone's lying. I have them all working for me. Like, what do people think censorship would look like? If it's not this, what do you think censorship is? Do you think they're going to censor somebody that only gets a few views? Why would they do that? What would be if I'm not a threat, then why would you come here in the first place? How did I get on the radar in the first place? Why would you build up my feed like that? What would be the purpose? Think about how many people would have seen it just because the way the algorithm works, the more views you get, the more people see it. Why would any of that make sense? It's just a better narrative. Yep, that's what it must be. That's a better narrative. It's a better narrative. Never mind the holes in it. And of course, this is one of those people who day after day after day will talk about these kinds of things and give their theories and look at but they never ever condemn the pedophilia. They never ever condemn the genocide. They don't condemn the Team Jorge. They don't condemn the Samson option. They don't condemn Operation Cast Thy Bread. They come here every day to talk shit because that's what normal people do. He doesn't have a job that he has to go to. He doesn't have a family that he has to spend time with. And if he does, he's allowed to stop what he's doing anytime. If I go live again 3 hours from now, he'll be here for as long as I am. If I go live tonight, he'll be here for as long as I'm live. Because that makes sense. Yep, schizophrenia. I mean, it's the same shit. And the funny thing is, they all say the same things, make the same spelling mistakes. You know, it's all the same because I'm wrong. That's what makes sense. This is, you know, instead of talking about how the Jays control the narrative, instead of figuring out how we can overthrow them and, you know, from fluoride to chemtrails to whatever, none of that stuff matters. What matters is I'm just crazy. Like it's pretty interesting how it works out. You know, and how it's worked for a long time. And yet, like I say, you get guys like Anomaly who say similar things, but won't talk about things like Israel, won't talk about the Jays. Or if they do, it's more of the Zionist narrative, because the Zionist narrative is an acceptable one at this point. You're allowed to condemn it as long as you say, no, it's not the Jays, it's the Zionists. But this is, you know, you shouldn't question why Anomaly is allowed to. He's telling all these truther things, right? He's talking about the chemtrails and he's talking about, but at the end of the day, he believes in God. You should believe in God and Jesus and the Christian narrative, and that Satan is the bad guy, and that the bad guys on earth, they worship Satan and they do all the Satans. He's allowed to push that crazy narrative to over 2 million followers. But it just must be, he just does such a better job. That must be it. It's fun how this keeps. What absolutely doesn't make sense is that, you know, I had been going on Facebook Live forever. I didn't do the YouTube thing, and I actually didn't think I could go live on YouTube because I thought you had to have a certain amount of subscribers. It must have been something they changed. But I had been doing Facebook for a while, and then I had lost motivation. The Facebook feed had just been completely shut down. My wife's not getting the notifications that I'm going live and shit. Like that's how bad it. Every time I go live, I get a notification that says slow internet connection. Doesn't matter what phone I go from, whether it's my phone or my wife's phone, it doesn't matter. For some reason, on Facebook Live alone, there's a slow internet connection. So, out of the blue, I decide I'm going to start going live on YouTube and see how that works. And I start with the submarines aren't real. part 1. And for the first nine episodes, I talked about submarines, amongst other things, but we did a pretty in-depth look into submarines. And the amount of views just blew it, or even let it go as a barometer to see what was happening, to see if people would would either attack me or turn against me, or would they support me. Like, it's a really great way to gauge where the people are. Thousands of views every single day. Multiple times it would be like within 20 minutes or so, I would notice that the feed had been compromised, so I would have to restart it, part 2. Or they would turn the comments off, so I'd restart it, part 3, whatever. And maybe the first one didn't get the views, the second one would, but one of the parts would get the big views because whatever, I don't know. Allowed to get as many as 500 people at a time, to the point where the comments are they're going so fast I can't even read them. And there was a lot of support. A lot of people saying similar things. And then, like I told you, it wouldn't last. And it would definitely wasn't going to last once Trump got involved. And as soon as Trump was elected, I had a drastic fall in the views. And then January 20th, it just stopped. And yet the trolls, the persistent trolls who had been there the whole time, they still came through. But all of these other people just stopped at the same time. And it's all because I'm wrong. Like, people don't just get what I get. I mean, why is my feed fucking up right now? I have T-Mobile. I'm in suburban Detroit, surrounded by cell phone towers, in the second floor, on the second floor of an aluminum-sided house, so a big giant antenna. And yet, for some reason, my feed just keeps fucking up. What do you think it is? What would you call censorship? If you were going to describe censorship, how would you do it? Would it make sense that like an entire group of people would focus on somebody that gets no views? On somebody that only has a few viewers, and everything they're saying is wrong and stupid and blah, blah, blah. And they roast those who come in and try to talk shit. Does that even make sense? Why would all of these people be here to begin with? The only people that have come here are the people that agree with me or talk shit. That makes sense, huh? Day after day, the same shit talkers. You'll get the few that come through and they're like, hey, I haven't seen this. What the hell happened? Blah, blah, blah. You can count on trolls, but not your regular viewers. Well, I don't think my regular viewers can get to my feed. There's no way my shit should have been at the top of your suggestions, and then suddenly you now have to search for it. Nothing changed. But what would censorship look like in any other way? Not to mention, I've offered all of these fucking idiots a chance to prove it. Prove themselves. All they have to do is make a quick video about how Guy Williams sucks. Send me the link and let me see that it's a real person that has this issue with me. A real non-J person. Why do they all want to hide behind fake profiles? I'm giving you the opportunity to really shut me up or you know, at least prove me wrong about something. It requires next to nothing from you. And all of these people who are so dedicated to come here and talk shit every day, to stop doing things in their regular life, no matter what time I go live, all this other shit. It's too much for them to make a quick video. They can make multiple fake profiles, but to make a quick video talking shit about me, they're not going to do that. If you can make a video that talks shit about me and it will go viral, why aren't you making videos that go viral so you can make some money? If you're that fucking awesome, then you should be taking advantage. And if it's going to go viral because so many people hate me that much, then how would so many people hate me? If I'm only talking to nobody, why would so many people hate me enough to make the video go viral? The reality is, if you make a video about me on your fake profile with, you know, no subscribers, no nothing to it, no subscribers, no nothing, just a profile specifically made to watch me, you know, it's going to get 2 views. Me and whoever else, you know, you want to watch it. Nobody's going to watch that stupid shit but me. Seems like it would be pretty simple. It'd be a pretty simple way for you guys to win the argument. And yet, none of you seem willing to. You're not Team Jorge, you're not bots, you're not Israeli. But to make a video where you just, a minute-long video where you're talking shit about me, audience to make a video talking shit about them. Tell me how ugly I am. Tell me how stupid I am. How ugly my wife and dumb my kids and ugly and all that. Go ahead, do whatever you got to do. Just show that you're a real person. You know, make sure it's like a minute long so, you know, it's not something that's easily faked. I think that's pretty fucking telling. Pretty telling. The desperate, like, obsession you have over me. It comes through like, you know, you're proud to show it in this platform or whatever, but not in any other way. I think that says everything. This is how they did this on Facebook. It started with this kind of shit where, for some strange reason, like people would say, "Oh, maybe you're going between cell phone towers." You think a cell phone tower signal runs between the middle of my house, and I just happen to cross over from one to the next over, and that's what makes the feed stop? You really think that's what's happening? Like it's all so. Again, I don't know what else I'm supposed to provide you. I don't know what else I can provide you. I'm trying. I don't think there's anything else I can do. I read you what they want us to read. My feed is fucked with in ways that don't make no sense. Back in January, your video would pop up every day. Then I didn't see it for a week or so. I subbed. And it just... I must have paid Craig to say these things, right? Craig and I are secretly working behind the scenes, so he would come in at the 2:23 mark and say that while my feed was being fucked with, or while I was pretending like my feed was being fucked with. You don't go up and then it just cuts off. In social media, you just keep going up. That's how that works. Especially when you think about, like, everything I'm talking about keeps coming more and more true every day. I told you about October 7th back in like May, April of that year. I predicted COVID. I've been telling you these things, and not because I'm some psychic or anything. It's because they tell us that. What $50?
Your home is your happy place until you come back to bad odors. Use Febreze plug-in. It has a microchip that alternates between 2 scents to fight odors or provide freshness for up to 50 days. Try Febreze Plus.
All right, T-Mobile Unlimited plan. Yep, that's what it must be. Yeah, too many people reported me. Yeah. Well, why would people report me? Instead of taking the opportunity to educate and maybe change a mind, they just got scared and reported. That says a lot. This isn't that feed where it's there's nothing that's opinion here. It's all fact. It's all fact-based information, and I invite people to express themselves. Yep, so many more reasonable answers that you can't come up with any. Gotcha. Gotcha. This person supposedly had to go do something for, and as soon as they got done, they were like, okay, I can get back to that guy's page that sucks so much. So many more reasonable answers. It's not reasonable to think that the system that provides us the platform interferes with us when we go against the grain. We're talking about a CIA, an FBI, a system that for years would send agents to go with fake identities to go live in towns with fake families, fake everything, where they would infiltrate, Black Panther groups or whatever sort of anti-government groups. They spend money, effort, and energy. They used to spend all this to physically do that. But now that they have the opportunity to do it from their offices in a digital platform, no, they don't do that. Nah, the system doesn't fuck with your feeds. Nah. I mean, you can literally, I keep telling you guys the Jays are the dumbest people in the world. There are articles from the last few years where pro-Israeli activists or whatever would have stories done on them. Random nobody people who supported Israel would have a story done on them by the Haaretz or by a major news network over there. Strange how that would work out. Kind of like how when Israel was reporting that it's not just the Palestinians that are being harmed. We had one woman fall down and scratch her knee up when she was running to one of the bomb shelters, and another woman had a panic attack. And me at least, I go, wait. Are we saying somebody fell and scraped their knee? And they, called the news? And the news was like, all right, we're going to report on that. Like, it's not like they have just news everywhere that if somebody falls, they can see it. And they go, oh, we saw that. Somebody had to report it to somebody who had to take the report and then give it to somebody else and then blah, blah, blah. That or they just make it up. But, to think that they don't do that shit. Again, I don't know why. How many different examples of the government doing fake shit do you need to know? Do you know anything about J. Edgar Hoover? Former director of the FBI, the cross-dressing transgender guy who had dirt on everyone because they had all sorts of ways of infiltrating back when it was physically necessary. They didn't have the digital means. But now all they have to do is provide a platform and then have us use it. Nah, they don't fuck with shit. But again, you have these dumbass Israeli profiles coming out and saying things like shadow banning us for our support for Israel. And we're talking about the dumb Jays, the people who say if you open the books on Israel, you demonize Israel. Not realizing, I guess, that, if you're not doing anything wrong, you can't be demonized. But they're so stupid that they think that that's a good thing. Like, oh, if you open up the books on Israel, you demon. They don't realize what they're actually saying, I assume. I don't know. But it's just as dumb as them consistently denying that shadow banning and interference happens whenever people complain, saying, any pro-Palestine stuff, any anti-Israel stuff gets blocked, gets removed, they say, oh, that doesn't happen. But then they're dumb enough to say that they're pro-Israel stuff. Well, that stuff gets shadow banned. That stuff gets removed. Blue and white Israeli Facebook is removing Israeli stuff. Right. Like that's, you have to be stupid to think that that's how it works, or it doesn't. That they give it to us without, they give it to us with free reign. If you think that, again, if you were the dictator that, that is clearly in control of our system, the dictators, would you provide your slaves, the internet to be able to communicate with each other and expose things and do all that shit without any sort of policing or interference? Like you would just be like, oh yeah, let them talk. It's okay. It's okay if they form plans. It's okay if they expose things. When, of course, that's not how Israel works. We know that that's not how they work. Because if the UN opens the books on Israel, they demonize Israel. Like, that they don't like that. There's zero transparency when it comes to this. And, of course, you have to ask yourself, why would there be any just regular Americans, any Christians, any Muslim, any other than dumb Jays and Israelis that would oppose me? Who in their right mind thinks we should continue giving Israel $3.8 billion a year so they can commit genocide? They literally do nothing but take from us. It's not a two-way relationship by any means. And 3.8 billion, aka 15 billion shekels, that's just the base. That's just the base guarantee for what they get. They get all kinds of hundreds of millions, extra billions, whenever they want it. Why would any American ever oppose, want me to not talk about this? Why would you hear this and not be like, fuck that, we could use that money here. We could use that $3.8 billion to form the ultimate pedo hunter group funded by the government that has the ability to immediately arrest and hopefully we change the law so that we kill them. But why, who thinks that giving Israel $3.8 billion a year is better than using it on a sophisticated pedophile hunter network that the government has? A government, a veterans program that helps all the homeless veterans and mentally fucked up veterans, or a women's group that helps all these women escape the abuse, or drug rehab programs that aren't associated with religion. Is that money going to Israel better than any of those things I just listed off? And again, look at the commenters. You're telling me that these are just regular Americans who don't fuck with children and who aren't Jays or Israeli, and who just want to keep talking shit but not even address these things. Who are these people? I know they're not like man enough or confident enough to make videos showing who they are, talking shit about me. Interesting how this works, isn't it? So many people dedicated to I'm a bad guy because of this, this, and this, but I'll be damned if they have anything negative to say about Israel. I'll be damned if they're openly opposed to the pedos and want to, Nope. It's always the same. Fuck it. Go watch Hollywoodism. It's the thing that answers all the questions. The link is in the description. Also be a link to the website, www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. It's free to listen to, free to download. It's an unsecured link. Yeah, okay. So, it's safe. I wouldn't be telling you to go to an unsafe link. It's just about going from, it's going to take you from our website to Bandcamp, and that's how that works. And I'm also going to leave you a link to our newest song, Nice Try Diddy. Hashtag Nice Try Diddy. Go check it out, go share it, go help, go do something. Don't just be a fucking piece of shit goyim like you're supposed to be. And don't just be the dumb piece of shit troll you usually are. Go educate yourself. Go watch Hollywoodism and tell me what I'm wrong about. Go watch 200 Proofs the Earth is Not a Spinning Ball. Write down each number that you can debunk, and then we'll talk about it. Like, do something. Come at me better than this, because this is weak. So, everyone have a great day, and you pedophiles, well, you fucking kill yourself.